Hello, it is Nick Zengel coming to you live from somewhere in California on this Monday, May 3rd, 2021 at 6 p.m. local time. If you are joining, make sure to say hello. If you are watching the replay, make sure to check the timestamps if you want to skip some of the introduction and welcomes to the chat. Those will be in the description before we get into the main topics. So I want to say hello to everyone as they come in. Hope everyone had a great Monday so far. Let me know where you're coming from and what time it is wherever you are. Like I said, it's 6 p.m. here. So I've had an hour to decompress after work. Okay, UC Boss. Hello, welcome. She said, hello. This case is so wild. Yes, and let's touch on the elephant in the room. Let's talk about my hair for a second before we get into it. So some of you probably who've been here for a while know that the last time I got my hair cut was, right before Halloween 2020. And I've been growing it since then. And this weekend I was like, you know what? I'm going to wash it, let it dry however it naturally does. I'm not going to do anything to it. And so this is what happened to it yesterday, and then today it was a little dirty and I just let it do the same thing, just wet it a little bit, so it's kind of funny. So I was like, you know what, it doesn't look half bad. I mean, it's different than what I've ever done, longest I've ever had my hair. This is the messiest it's ever looked, but I was like, you know what, let's just give it a break, see what it looks like. It's just hair or whatever. So I thought I would rock it today, and maybe I'll show you the clean version of this that I tried yesterday that looked a little better in my opinion in a few days. But yeah, so this case is crazy. Also, I'm in a different location. I'm kind of in the corner of my place. I have this poof here that I actually got this, I think, on QVC maybe. And it's one of those things that it's like a little, like, I guess, beanbag, if you will, but it's made of memory foam, and it unzips and it turns into a full, like, memory foam mattress. And it's actually really comfortable. This comes off and it's like a pillow. So I'm in the corner. I have my soundproofness here, pillows over here, and a blanket on 2 chairs over here. And then I have a natural light over here. So hopefully it stays light out enough. And let me see who else is in here. Hello. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Popemekian. Let me know if I'm pronouncing as well. Doesn't sound like anyone has any problems, but I just want to make sure. Hello from Belgium. Okay, Pope Pemikin says, hello from Belgium. It is 3:50, 3.5, 3:30 a.m. here at night. Wow. Thank you so much for tuning in that early in the day. I know it's kind of interesting. I feel really lucky because I'm in like the Los Angeles time zone. And so I think the second best to that is probably the Eastern time zone as far as like timing for new shows, live or live streams. Hopefully this is a good time. I know at some point I'm probably going to switch to only doing mostly 6 p.m. type live streams. For now, I'm keeping both 12 and 6 up because I still work from home. But if I ever have to go back in the office, the 12 p.m. will be harder to schedule, and so this is a better time, but both are there for now. But just want to let you know. Okay, looks like everyone who is going to be here right at the start is here, so hopefully that was a long enough stall of, let's see, almost 4 minutes, so that's perfect. So let me get my thing. Let me share my screen really quick, and let's share. Let's go. Okay, there we are. All right, hopefully, okay, look positioned good. Let me get my notes out. All right, so we are going to talk about the Josh Duggar situation, but a little bit differently than what other people are doing. I really want to talk about what I've been seeing regarding other people covering the Josh Duggar situation, because you can find information on that anywhere else. You can hear other people just regurgitating the same stuff that's going on or any new developments. And the reason I want to do this is because a lot of the channels that are talking about this are channels that I've actually mentioned on my channel or briefly touched on and touched on topics that they've touched on and given my own take on it. And so it's kind of been this topic, just like the last one I talked about, where all these different worlds that I've interacted with very recently, they're all kind of in this one story. They're all converging into one. And some of those topics and people are like the anti-family vlogging community, the anti-Katie Joy community, the legal commentary community, and also reality TV and just pop culture in general. And so, and then this also involves some commentary channels that I've touched on. And the two I want to really, I don't want to say criticize, but I'm going to kind of touch on a few things that they've said and kind of give a little bit of a different take, or maybe rebut their points or whatever you want to, whatever word you want to put in there. And those two creators are the Dad Challenge podcast, Josh, who hosts that, and radiantbritt. Now, I am aware, and I don't need to preface this by saying this, but I am aware that some of my audience, albeit smaller than theirs, crosses over into them. And so I never want to come across, even though I do touch on them and criticize both of them every once in a while, I don't ever want to come across that I am trying to convince people not to watch them, if that makes sense. Because I know some creators, they say, oh, do me a favor and don't watch these people that I'm criticizing. Don't give them the view. And I personally don't believe that, because if I'm using their content to create content of mine, whether it be taking something they've said and kind of spinning on it, or using a video idea of them and giving my own take on it, I don't think me telling you not to go watch them actually helps my point if I'm like criticizing them or rebutting something they've said or giving a different take. And so that's why on the screen you see shared here, let me make sure I can see it, you can see the name of the video. And if you are going to, if you want to fact check me, basically, you can go to their video and see what I said versus what they said and make sure I'm doing okay. Because I feel like when creators try to convince their audience or pull the wool over their eyes by saying, don't go watch this channel that I just criticized and talked about or watched a video from or reacted to, it does, as a viewer, it makes me want to go to that channel even more. So one, it doesn't work, but two, it does make me think that as a creator, you may be trying to hide something, or you may be a little insecure about your view. And although I'm not perfect and I may not be right all the time, I believe in open discussion and open free flow of ideas. And so after this, if you want to go watch those videos and make sure I'm not lying to you or whatever, I fully support that. So with that said, let's start with the Dad Challenge podcast. His name's Josh. He's on there. So I watched his video recently, which is this one right here, which is called, I guess I'll say it out loud in case someone can't see, Josh Duggar, Katie Sorensen, and the lengths people will go to for fame and money. The kids are the victims. I'm just going to touch on the Josh Duggar part of this, even though there was plenty to talk about from that whole video, but maybe I'll go into that in another one. Let me just check the chat really quick. Are you guys making fun of my hair? Okay. That's okay. You guys can roast me in the comments. I don't care. I'll go back to the chat after I get through some of my thoughts here, and then I'll interact with you guys in the chat. But okay, so you guys distracted me. Okay, this is serious. Okay, so the Dad Challenge podcast. So one of the points he made was that he thought that the reason that the Duggars are maybe going to get away with, or Josh is going to get away with this, or they have gotten away with past instances of him doing similar things, was because they are white, they are rich and famous, and they're Christian. And those are all three privileges that he thought they had that would potentially work in their favor and have in the past. And that could be part of the case, but from my understanding, the reason we are only seeing the indictment and the prosecution or whatever charges and arrests now is because they might have kept finding things in the investigation. Because I know I don't know everything, but what I do know about the legal system is that government lawyers are not going to bring a case that they can't easily win, if that makes sense. One, because it's taxpayer dollars and they want to have a good record for whatever reason, whether it's promotion or just having that case in there, or that feather in their cap. And that also justice in general, from what we've learned from George Floyd's situation, where we waited almost a whole year before the trial happened for Derek Chauvin, was that justice doesn't always have a favorable timeline to people watching from the outside, or maybe even obviously people directly affected, whether it's victims or the accused. And so that doesn't necessarily equate to the gravity of the situation. And so to me and to you and to everyone, especially here in America where this case is happening and where many of you are viewing from, but like I saw earlier, some of you are from overseas and looking at America and looking at this story and what's going to happen. You never know who, if you or me are going to be in this situation, whether we are rightfully or wrongfully accused. But to kind of remove, how do I say this? To hold a different standard to someone because you don't like them or because you don't like what they do or what they stand for is a slippery slope, and that is very concerning to me because although you don't like what they're doing, someone could not like what you're doing, and you can easily be in that role and not like the way you are treated. So that's why I always stand up for like an equal standard or the same standard for everyone, whether I like someone or not. And so that was one thing I thought was very concerning about what Josh said on his video about this, but maybe it was just a little of an inflammatory comment for kind of entertainment and for drama. I don't know. But also he said that he does not think the Duggars are Christians. And when I heard that, I was like, okay, maybe they're not the perfect Christians. But then in the next sentence, Josh from Dad Challenge podcast, there's two Joshes here, so I'm trying to make sure I distinguish which is which. The next sentence, he was criticizing the siblings of Josh Duggar for still sticking by their brother because of what I perceive as the values that they grew up with of forgiveness and believing people can kind of, whatever the religious saying is for becoming healed or changing your ways, whatever it's called, because of their religious upbringing. So I was thinking, okay, if they're not Christians, maybe they're not perfect Christians is what he meant to say, and that they look bad because they're forgiving someone, their sibling who's done something bad. That was one thing I was like, it's kind of a contradictory, and it really indicated to me that some of the reactions to the Duggar situation, this recent one, is based on more emotion than logic and reason. And obviously emotions can be used to really prove a point or get people on your side or kind of get people all riled up. But when it comes to legal things, they just want the facts, right? So I don't know. Okay, so also I saw many people, including Josh from Dad Challenge podcast, alluding to this idea that if Josh did these things in the past to his siblings and to people close to the family but outside the family, that he must be, or there's probable cause or whatever the term you want to use, to believe that he maybe is doing these things to his own children. Now, I don't know the mindset of a predator or someone who may go down the path of doing something that Josh Duggar is being accused of doing or has been accused of doing. And I don't know how it differs between family and children of your own and other people's children or whatever it is, and whatever level of relationship Josh or anyone in his state of mind has with others. But jumping to that conclusion, in my opinion, is very, very dangerous and concerning when people who have influence, and I'm saying this because I want to hold everyone to the same standard, any level of influence, whether it's you and your friend in real life or you and one person that follows you or that you follow online, to jump to that conclusion. I know it's easy to jump to that conclusion, but when I see that coming up a lot, I'm like, oh God, I don't want that to be true, obviously, because the less victims, the better. But when I see people doing that, I think that is starting to approach the line, and some may argue that's even crossing the line. So I want to make sure that I'm not doing that and that I'm calling that out because we don't know. So there's that with Josh. So actually, before I get into radiantbritt, I want to see what your comments are saying. Let's see here. Let me go back. All right, Frank. Will you have to cut your hair if you don't go back into your office? Well, I have to cut my hair if I go back into the office. We don't have uh, a dress code particularly. I mean, I would obviously make it look presentable, but I can think of like a few examples of people I work with that have interesting hairstyles, if you will. So I don't think it matters. And plus, I believe there's a law that just got passed or recently passed within this recent administration with Gavin Newsom that you can't be discriminated based on your hairstyle. So I work in the public sector, and so I'm guessing that applies to me. So I don't know if they can do anything about it. So we'll see. That will probably, depending on the reaction from coworkers or whoever to my hair being this long, that will probably determine if I get pushed into one way or the other as far as getting a haircut. But anyway. Okay, everyone's laughing at Frank. UC Boss says I'm going to send him some of my scrunchies and rubber bands. I don't know if it's long enough for that. I think I could put like a bun, use it to go here. I don't know if I could do like a full man bun. I don't know if I want to get that long or even do that, but we'll see. I think it would get curly and wavy if you grew it out. Yeah, it's already kind of wavy when it's dry. Like it was kind of dirty today, so it looks not bad. But not picking on hair. It's cute. Thanks, Frank. Focusing. Okay, hello, St. Frank. Okay, only 175 to 1K. Yes, so we're approaching 1,000 subscribers, which is awesome. Thank you so much. Let's see. In my opinion, okay, UC Boss says, in my opinion, Josh will go to prison over this. Okay, Josh Duggar, I'm guessing you're saying. There's no statute of limitations on sexual assault. Yeah, I mean, it's looking really bad because, like I said, from what I understand, once the government, whether it's federal or whoever, actually charges you, it's probably a really bad sign. Same thing's happening and I learned that a lot from, like I mentioned, Emily D. Baker, who is a law commentator on here who I like watching and listening to. I like her perspective. She has a wealth of knowledge, obviously. Yeah, so it's looking pretty bad. Good golly, Miss M said, if Josh Duggar was doing that to his own children, he would have a separate charge for that. And I believe they did. And I believe they did a child wellness visit to the house when the raid happened. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you would think that if they probably checked all those boxes to see if there's any more victims. I would be surprised if they did a full investigation. From what I understand, it was 2019 was when a raid happened. I would be surprised if they didn't cross all their T's and dot all their I's as far as trying to get as many charges as possible, right? I mean, I don't see why they would leave, and I don't see why they would leave that stone unturned of checking his own home, right? So yeah, I think you're right on that. Frank Ray said, I appreciate your take on this issue. Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I try to be as level-headed as possible because I know there's a lot of high emotions on stuff like this and topics like this because it's very triggering and it's very sensitive. And I mean, we've all been children at one point, and we all know children, and we all know family and people and victims. And so it's not something that should be lighthearted, but also to keep your emotions in check so that we can get justice and we can do good and bring awareness to this in some way. So let's see what else. Good golly, Miss M says Josh will go to prison if convicted. Okay, so we're all. And before I get into the radiantbritt part, which I probably will talk about this in that part, it seems like my general consensus from just overall, just what I've seen in comment sections or just in life in general, it appears that assault, sexual assault, abuse, whatever you want to call it, pedophilia. I know I'm not going to censor any of those words. I know some people like to spell them out or use abbreviations. I'm not that type of person. So, well, let me take a sip of water. This is the one topic I think that is unifying, unfortunately, that is unifying to most people as far as a cause that we can all get behind and say that is wrong, which is assault and abuse, and especially of underage people. And And so that's why I'm concerned when it gets polarized and it gets emotional and it gets kind of messy, if you will. So I try not to join in on that. Even though I'm criticizing two creators, I'm not attacking them. I'm just saying, okay, let's sift through some of the emotions and try not to get people confused. Good golly, Miss M says, I just can't believe Josh was downloading all that material on the company computer. Shake my head. I know. And then UC Boss says, I know, right? Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's confusing to me because you think if someone is really has really bad intentions or maybe this is, okay, let me break this down. On one side, if you're like a career criminal and you're like an organized criminal, you probably are very smart about hiding things and what you use, what devices you use, whatnot. However, to me, the fact that he was that careless, or maybe he did it at work because he didn't want his wife to see her at home or any of his personal devices, but either way, it's bad. To me, that shows that he, in my opinion, from what I see, that there is some urge or something there where like he had to do whatever he was doing. Like there was something in him that just like he could not control it, which is sad and scary. But I think that's where else would he do it, right? If he wasn't doing it at the company or on his personal devices. So it's just it's wild. So all right, let's go on to the radiantbritt part of this. Let me switch to her screen. Thank you all for being here, by the way. I don't know if I even said that, but I hope by interacting I'm saying thank you. But I know sometimes some topics attract a different audience than others, and so there's that. But I'm going to do these a lot more often, and at the end, I'll touch on how you can get notified quickly of these lives when they come up. Usually are at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I'm going to work on. I'm kind of testing out different days, so might be every day, might be a couple times a week. We'll see, but at the end, I'll tell you how to get notified. Okay, one more comment before we move on. Was UC Boss says that smirk on his mugshot pissed me off. Basically, I know you're saying peed me off, but yeah. I saw a lot of people touching on that too about the smirk on his face, and it definitely wasn't the best look for him. But I am not putting too much weight on it because I don't know what it's like to have my mugshot taken. I don't know. Do they tell you to smile? Do they tell you to smirk? I don't know. And I immediately thought when I saw his mugshot was all the like teen celebrities or whatever, the child stars that grew up to be in trouble or whatnot, them and their mugshots of all glamorous, like Lindsay Lohan and Paris Hilton and all those. But I don't know if we can equate DUI and drug charges to this. I don't know if they're even remotely the same, but no, they look into the lens. Okay. Almost like he expects his parents to get him. Yeah, I think that's kind of what Josh was talking about. Good golly, Miss M, about how he thinks he could think maybe his parents will get him off, or that his position in society as far as their notoriety will help them. I don't know. I'm not in the mind of I'm not in the mind to know what he's thinking, but yeah. Yeah. Frank says not even close to the same in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, yeah, but I feel like if you're at the point where you're arrested, at that point, I don't know like what's going through your mind, if you're even thinking rationally or you're just like trying to survive and try to get through the booking process or the picture or whatnot. I don't know. Never been arrested, never been to jail, so I don't know. But definitely something, or it could be, you know what, the only similar thing I can think of now that I'm thinking about it between Josh Duggar and maybe like the Lindsay Lohans or the Paris Hilton mugshots is that they're all different levels of influence, but in the fame world where they may be living in an alternate reality where they think they can get away with anything. That could be the only similarity, I think. But all right, let's get into radiantbritt. Okay. So radiantbritt made a video, and hers was titled, let's go here to make sure everything's good. Hers was titled, "We Need to Discuss Katie Joy's Coverage of Josh Duggar." So this is kind of a two birds with one stone. One where I'm going to talk about Katie Joy and radiantbritt and kind of the crossover between the two. UC Boss says, "I have been arrested for a DUI. I was so embarrassed. I was crying." Yeah, I feel like any normal person who actually lives in reality for the most part would be a little traumatized, I would think. But that to me kind of supports my point about celebrity and the influential part of it. Maybe having to do with the fact that they look so some things are jarring when you see their mugshots. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so radiantbritt. So she said that Katie Joy may be covering or is covering this story about Josh Duggar and the Duggars in general for a payday. And I see Katie being, at least in recent memory, a Duggar-centric channel as of late. So of all people, I actually think she is the one that should get the least pushback for covering this story about Josh Duggar, because if she didn't cover this Josh Duggar story of him being arrested and charged, but covers all these other things about their pants and about their social media and speculating on their pregnancy and whatever she does with the Duggars, that would be suspect in my opinion, because it would look like she wasn't wanting to cover this story for some reason. And as we know, this type of subject matter is notorious on YouTube for being something that does get you demonetized or is kind of iffy with advertisers. And so to me, if she was doing it for a payday, meaning covering the Duggars, I think she wouldn't actually be covering the abuse stories like this. And so I get why people think her doing 5 videos was, I think 5 videos in a 24-hour period on this Josh Duggar story alone gets people thinking she's kind of money hungry and a grab bag for a paycheck. She's just doing her job. If you're a YouTube commentary channel and you want to just go deep on one subject, you're well within your rights to do that. And so so Britt pointing out the number of videos that Katie has made on this, on top of the comments I just talked about, isn't a point for me against Katie or in support of the advocacy or the activism as far as the abuse and assault of children, if that makes sense. And so I look at it this way. Do we criticize mainstream media news organizations for covering, let's say, maybe this subject or war where people are being killed, but then they cut to commercial break right after the story's over? Well, no, because in order for them to get us that news, which is valuable, and for us to get information on what's going on in the world, they have to pay the bills too. And so I've personally been criticized on my channel in the comment section for bringing up Walkabout. But the reality is there is a money aspect to everything. And I know I don't like that that's always the case, but it's the reality of where we are in society. So also Britt was saying that Katie was cashing in on the Duggars and posed the question with that: should Katie be covering the story if she's not doing it from an aspect of trying to be an advocate or an activist in the name of saving the children, if you will? And I personally say no, because Katie Joy, whether you like her or not, should be able to cover any story she wants, how she wants, just like you as a creator, if you're out there, or me, or Britt, should be able to also. And not unfortunately, but the reality is Britt is also making money off this Duggar story by covering it on her channel as well. And so that was an on point, I thought, out of her video. And then also, that was kind of what I took from that comment from Radiant Brit also was that she was basically saying that, or implying, I should say, that one should only say something in the way that she is saying it or cover something in the way she's covering it, because if they aren't saying it in the way she does, then she thinks it's wrong or whatever. And to me, that is a very dangerous mindset. Although she's entitled to have that mindset, like I said before, I think it's very dangerous because it crosses into that authoritarian side. And I personally don't think that is going to help the cause of saving the children or putting eyes and ears on the issue of assault of children or adults, whoever. And so I think even if, let's see, I have a different take on it, Katie Joy has a take, Britt has a different take, Josh and Dad Challenge podcast has a different take. The point is we're all talking about it. We're all putting attention on it. And so if we all have a little bit different takes, but we're all generally on the same side that assault of children or abuse of children is just not good, I think that's a win. And so we can all reach different people and gather more people on the same side. Same with kind of the anti-family blogging world that a lot of them kind of live into, is everyone can approach that one issue from different angles, and it should be okay because at the end of the day, their goal was the same. The problem came when some people were criticized or excommunicated from that community, not in the inner circle or whatnot, or the cool kids club, because they took a different approach to this, or they were critical of some other people's methods for approaching that goal. So that was noticed as well. And then Britt was also talking about how people were commenting on Katie's video, or in the Katie Joy Reddit subreddit, about Katie Joy calling it as far as something happening with Josh. But Britt, well, she was criticizing people for celebrating that Katie Joy was calling something like this, which is so horrific. In this same video, she was talking about her recent video on the Duggars, where she thought she had an inkling something like this was going to happen with the Duggars as well. So I'm like, okay, so you can have an inkling, and maybe people didn't praise you for it, but you had an inkling, similar way that Katie had an inkling and said something about it. But one was right and one wasn't. This is the part where the whole anti-Katie Joy community and mindset has, I think, blinded some people and has actually hurt their cause, because I don't see how those two can coexist and not hurt your side, if that makes sense. So that was an interesting note I thought of as well. And then one of the last things I remember from wrote down from Britt's video about this was that she was also saying that Katie at some point will have to move on to another family once the Duggars aren't getting her views in her. And I personally don't see how what Katie is doing is any different from what Radiant Britt is doing, or anyone else, including myself, are doing as far as following a story. And then at some point, either the story ends, or we've all moved on from it, or you don't think you have anything else to add. So I at least will give Katie Joy credit for having no shame as far as speaking her mind, albeit some things I'm like, okay, maybe you shouldn't have said that, or maybe that's a little too far, or you're asking for trouble. And at least she goes deep on one subject, even if it's the Duggars and she's done a million videos about them. But I give her that much credit, because I know if I was going that deep on them and like having sources and digging things up and analyzing every little thing about the Duggars on their social media, I personally would feel a little creepy about it. I mean, some things you kind of have to go a little deep on if you want to investigate a little bit, but I respect the hustle and respect the grind that she has. So there's that. Maybe some people won't like me for that, but those are my general thoughts for the Radiant Brit video that she did. So I'm gonna check the chat and we can hang out and chat a little more. Let's see. So let me know what you guys think, since you're all here and we're all chatting. Okay, let me scroll up a little bit. Actually, let me go on my phone, because I don't have my contacts in, and and I don't want to be too close. You guys don't want to see me that close, do you? It's a good thing the sun's still out. That's good. We have lots of sunlight left. Okay. Let's scroll up. Where was I? Okay. I found the chat on here. I guess I'll get rid of Brits now that... Okay. It's just us now. So we have just a plain backdrop. Okay. Okay, UC Boss said, okay, she was talking about how she had a DUI and she was embarrassed. She was crying, and then good golly, Miss M said, okay, poor thing. Okay. I won't try to read out all your conversations to each other. Let me see. Frank Frey said, I think it is that she has covered excessively 5 stories in less than 36 hours. Yeah, I mean, but if you think about it, and maybe even a news organization might not cover it that much, but if you think about it, I mean, if that's her main story she's been covering recently, I mean, and there's 5 updates. I didn't watch every one of those, every video of that, but if there was enough information for there to be 5 updates, I think she's allowed to make 5 updates. But I guess that's up to interpretation at this point. Good golly, Miss N says, KJ has recently become friends with Josh's cousin, Amy Duggar. So she gets behind the scenes info. I do remember seeing that, and it looks like it appears that maybe Katie's inkling was a tip from Amy, because if I'm not mistaken, Amy's kind of on the outs with the main part of the family, if I'm not mistaken. I don't see why she wouldn't be on the outs if she was talking to Katie, but anyways. Frank says, fine line. I am trying to listen objectively to you. Maybe my frustration of KJ is hindering my ability. Well, first of all, I appreciate you listening to me. I'm kind of on a lot of the anti-communities. I'm not anti, if that makes sense. And I'm sometimes critical of that because I'm trying to moderate my stance on just things in life in general, whether it's political or on certain issues. And so I appreciate you listening a lot, Frank. But that's why I call that out when I see it, like in this situation with Britt, from what I've seen, is that sometimes I think, and I don't know, I'm not in people's heads, but sometimes it appears that because Katie Joy is such a polarizing figure and she brings out a lot of emotions in people, myself included, sometimes I'm like, what the heck? I think the best argument is to not let your emotions hinder your ability to think clearly. So there's that. But I think the fact that you're even questioning that, Frank, is cool, because that means you're like, okay, maybe I am. That means you're open, first of all, to change, and then there's that. So, I'm trying to get better at not reading the conversations between each other on the chat, only the ones kind of to me and answering me, if that makes sense. Frank said, I didn't see Britt's video, but I think it is more KJ's attitude in doing it. Yeah, I mean, I understand why people don't like the way certain people go about stuff, because I get that can hinder your message and how to communicate it to people. But maybe I'm just different in this way. I tend to see past that, and I don't really get riled up by that. I like to see kind of past the facade, because I think it's interesting to kind of pick apart what people are showing you versus what they're actually like telling you and what's actually going on. So maybe that's just me. But yeah. And good golly, Miss M says KJ is just mean and nasty about everyone. Yeah. What's interesting, and I know this is a hot take, so be prepared. I'm about to give a hot take, but I think Radiant Britt, Katie Joy are, how do I say this? 2 sides of the same coin, meaning they're both pretty negative, but I think Katie Joy is a lot more nasty. Britt, at least her delivery is more calm and like not like in your face, like really nasty. But they can both be pretty negative a lot of the time. So UC Boss says, I don't know much about Brit, but I'm more of a Leslie Bass fan. I feel like I've watched Leslie Bass before, but yeah, it's crazy because you learn some people. You find so many new people all the time, especially when there's a story that like gets widespread coverage and brings a whole bunch of new people into the space, like Katie Joy did a few like back in November or whatever, when the lawsuit between her and Tati happened. Okay, so good golly, Miss M kind of confirmed what I said about Amy Duggar feeding KJ info. Yep. Oh, I don't know if I didn't see this comment, Frank, about you saying KJ is totally different than you and Britt. You speak truth and share what is your opinion. Yeah, I think definitely Katie Joy approaches and very, in my opinion, sometimes crosses the line as far as what's truth and opinion. But I mean, some people might think I do too. So I don't know. I try not to, but maybe just my demeanor. I'm not a super emotional person as far as how I react. It takes a lot for me to get to that point. And I think Britt, that's something I actually liked about her when I first started watching her was I felt that connection between her, meaning I take a more level-headed approach, but I still have an opinion to get out or whatever. Yeah, good golly, Miss M says, and KJ doesn't like anyone who doesn't have the same beliefs as her. She's a bigot. Yeah, unfortunately, I think I agree with that one. Yep, contradicting yourself and making up lies. In your opinion, Frank is a problem. Yes. Let's see. UC Boss says I'm assuming you're saying Katie got extremely lucky over the Tati lawsuit. I completely agree. Time will tell if that's even over yet, but it looks like it's simmering down. And back to my comment about Brit and saying that people are going to have to move on. I mean, I would be lying if I said a lot of you didn't find me because of my first Katie Joy video. I didn't know that video was going to take off the way it did, but it did. And so that's why I actually consciously made a decision at that point because I actually saw what was happening and people were basing their whole channels around Katie Joy and not just using her as a lightning rod to do other things. So I consciously chose, and I'm happy I did because now obviously it's ending, and we didn't know it was going to go that long. But I used things I saw in her to kind of make videos that were kind of touching on the general topics and not necessarily like picking on her exactly, but people who actually did create channels based solely on her and reacting to her may actually win in the end because doesn't look like she's going anywhere. So there's always going to be something, I think, and she's not changing. It doesn't look like. So it looks like there's always going to be something for people to react to as far as Katie goes. So it could be a good thing. But I actually like that because a lot of people are criticizing people for having whole channels about that. But I'm like, you know what? I like having that debate and that open discussion and free flow of ideas. You can have your people who like Katie Joy and what she's doing and watch her. You can have people who hate watch her and also react to her. You can have people who react to her and the community over there. And as long as everyone's being allowed to express their side, I think that's a good thing. So there's that for me. Oh, Frank. I'm so sorry. Was I saying he? I don't think I was just saying Frank. By the way, Frank is a chick. I know. I know it's confusing. Okay, cool. I'm all good. Thanks for letting me know. Um, I don't know if she boss you're referring to Katie or Brit, but about not caring at her. However, she does a great job. Cool. Okay. Good golly, Miss N says KJ's line is just too much to deal with, in my opinion. Yeah. Um, yeah. It's a lot. UC Boss says it's LB now. Okay, yes, I know who that is now. Or LB, I think, right? Yeah. So is she the one that did the interview with the Lorianne interview? Good golly, Miss M says, I unsubbed from KJ, Katie Joy, when she just kept being so nasty to myself and others over just asking simple questions. I got pissed about that. Yeah, I don't think Katie did herself any favors when she does that, because, and maybe I think I said this in a past video where I talked about Katie on this on my channel, which is that it could be projection, and I think this is all speculation just from what I've known and seen, is it appears because of the situation with her child being special needs and being a caretaker, because of the state of the world, because of the lawsuit, because of whatever's going on in her personal life, I perceive that as one of the few things she had control of was the block button. That was just my initial thought, was that the only thing she had control of is how she reacted to her subscribers, and that she could do whatever she wanted to do with that and just block you or mute you or whatever. I don't know. But that was kind of my initial thought on that, was as some sort of reasoning behind that. Yeah, I mean, good golly, Miss M says KJ doesn't appreciate open debate. She wants sheeple. Yeah, I mean, it appears that way for sure. I can say at this point, right hand up, oath. I have one time muted someone on my channel, and within 24 hours, I unmuted them because I was like, it just feels weird because it's not me to try to silence anyone. And then I think I said this in my last, was it my last or 2 lives ago, maybe 3 lives ago, was that the only comments, well, I said I don't delete comments except, so what I meant to say was I only delete those ones that look like spam. You know exactly what I'm talking about, where it's just like a really short link to like a random website and then a timestamp, and it shows up right when you upload, and it's like the most spammy looking thing. So I delete those, but I don't ban the user. And then of course, if someone's doxing, like that's against like whatever, but okay, Frank, yes, okay. One of the, I remember that person who did the interview. Yeah, okay. Frank says, you were the kid in college that always played devil's advocate, and I loved to hate. Advocate that I loved to hate. LOL. That's totally a compliment. Yeah. Okay. So I guess I'll kind of share. That actually brings up a good story. So in college, it's very interesting. I might do probably have to do a whole video on this, but I want to weave them into these because if you didn't know this, if you're new to the channel, if you haven't been following, or don't get everything, because sometimes things don't get sent to you. These lives, I take the info part of it, so the part that's like not the live chat back and forth, and I edit that and I upload that after the stream's over, once YouTube processes the stream and I can download the raw footage. And so yeah, that's something that's happening. But and then I create one short from that. It's kind of just advertisement for the lives, because I want to filter as many people into the lives as possible, because I love talking to you. But in college, so what's interesting is, so I'm in California, right? And this is going to be kind of a political leaning story, but I'm not going to talk about like my views or anything. But let's just say my political views, which you probably have seen on the channel, are not the stereotypical what people would think of on a college campus or in California. Even though I'm from an area that's, my views are a little more stereotypical. And so I think that, coupled with my natural curiosity, my natural state to want to solve problems or not, or to balance things out, if that makes sense, or to fix. If I see an argument happening, I am a natural person naturally that wants to mediate or moderate or try to find some common ground. That's just how I've always been. I'm a very solution-oriented, problem-solving, reasoning person. Been that way my whole life. It's just naturally who I am. I'm also naturally a very nosy person. And so all those things kind of lead me to what you said, Frank, about being a person who kind of plays devil's advocate. And my biggest fear in life is, or one of my biggest fears is blindly thinking I'm right, if that makes sense, or not, before making big decisions, not like covering all my bases, trying to pick apart the thing. And so actually that's kind of my role in just groups in general, usually, unless I have to be something else. But is if you have a good idea or this grand, like fluffy idea, I am the guy you come to pick it apart and bring you down to reality, and like kind of like, okay, this is the part that doesn't make sense with this and this, but how are you going to do that? And how are you going to do that? But this doesn't seem feasible and blah, blah, blah. That's who I am. That's me. And so you kind of hit the nail on the head with that one. But what I was saying was also my devil's advocate, argumentative side of debating, if you will, is I had to back up. Well, I'm someone who I will tell it exactly how I see it, or I will just be quiet. So when it's coming out of my mouth, it's what I'm thinking. If I don't want you to, if I think what's going to come out of my mouth is going to cause something that I don't want to happen, I will just not say it. But on a college campus, which leans in a direction stereotypically, normally, that is not my personal view, I had to find a way to say what I thought in a time that was very polarizing in that realm, without like being completely ostracized and still being able to survive. So I had to find a way to get my point across without being confrontational or causing issues, so that people would actually listen to me. So I think all that, I don't know if I've made any sense. I might have to do a whole video on like my college experience and whatnot, but I think that hopefully makes sense or confirms what you said. Good golly, Miss M says, I get the thought of KJ using the block button for control. She is out of control otherwise. LOL. Yes. Yeah. What I think is so dumb, no, I don't want to say dumb, but what I think is so interesting about using the block button too much is that it's a false sense, in my opinion, of false sense of security, or false sense of, I don't know what the word is, because yeah, someone can be blocked and their real account, but you can create a fake account and come back and do the same thing. And it's worse because then that person is hiding. I would rather know someone is whoever they are, or their account is whatever it is, and have them continually show up, and I can just ignore them or address them or whatever, than the false sense of thinking they're gone away, but then they're just going to keep coming back. And then if that is your standard, then you're going to keep blocking forever, and you're just going to waste your time blocking. So I don't know. Frank says, where are you in the birth order? Does that mean like younger, older, like second born, first born? Is that what you're talking about? Because if that's the truth, I am the youngest of two. So that could be part of it too, is I'm the youngest in the family. I was the youngest in the family as far as like cousins and everything for the first like 8 years of my life before more cousins were born. So that could be part of it as well, is I had to earn my way into everything and fight for everything and all that. So maybe that's part of it. If you're just joining, the replay will have timestamps, so you can go back and watch. And we are just chatting about the whole Josh Duggar situation after I touched on some thoughts of mine regarding some creators, one being radiantbritt and one being Dad Challenge Podcast, Josh from that, some of the comments they made in their videos about the subject, and my take on those, which were a little bit different. But if you have anything you want to share, I am reading the chat now. We are chatting back and forth. Okie dokie, let's see. I don't know why my chat, oh, that's why. Okay. Good golly, Miss M says, Nick, good for you. Stand up for your beliefs. Yeah, I mean, I've always been that way, and I try to do it respectfully, because I don't think it helps my like I've been saying with other people, to be confrontational, because I want people to see what I'm seeing, even if we agree to disagree. But there's that. Frank says, I don't like KJ, but I have to give any of you who are on YouTube credit for being willing to put yourself out there. Yeah, and I think I can have a whole story on that too. It's like, this is like my fourth time actually doing YouTube, but this is the only time I've actually felt like it was right and I committed and it feels like the right thing to do and I feel confident and whatnot. It had to be, personally, I think it was because I needed to be in the real world and grow and finish college and work and get a career started and all that stuff to gain more perspective to be able to be confident in doing this. But yeah, thank you. UC Boss says, Nick, I got to go. I will watch the rest tomorrow. Bye, y'all. Frank. Okay. Bye, UC Boss. Thank you so much. And if you're back in the replay, thanks for coming back. Good golly, Miss Sen says a false sense of censorship. Yes, that's a good way to put it. Yeah. So I can just call good golly Miss M just Molly. Is that what I can call you, Molly? Okay. All right, let's see if anyone else is saying anything. Like I said, if you're just joining, the replay will be up soon. You can go back or go back now, and I will do that. I'll stay on for a few more minutes. We'll wrap up at about an hour, and then I will. Oh, I was going to let you know. Okay. If you are not yet and you would like to be notified before I go live, I have a free email list that I just send notifications as far as letting you know I'm going to go live, or when I upload the segments, I send the link to that because I'm also on. I upload the segments to Rumble as well, which is a video alternative to YouTube, and I upload the audio to Anchor, which is actually from Spotify, but it distributes the audio to podcasting platforms. Let me make sure I say the right ones that I'm on. Although I do, my main platform is YouTube where I do the live streams. So those are YouTube exclusive right now. Let's see. Okay, hold on. So Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, Pocket Casts, and Radio Public are all the places that the audio of the segments are distributed to. So, and that's on the email list. So Frank says, hey, got to sign off for now. Have a great night. Thank you, Frank. Yeah, I'll be done in a few minutes. So you're good. But if you want to be a part of the email list to get links to that and get notified when I'm going to go live, assuming that notifications don't go out and before I have the community tab where I can also announce that, go to the About section of this channel, and there's actually, I can probably show you on the screen right now. You can go to the About section, and that's where you can sign up for it for free. Let's see here. You get there before I share with you. Oops. All right. Share. Hopefully that looks good. Yeah, so here you can see just says head to nickzangle.com to sign up for email updates. Make sure to click yes, subscribe me to this list in your confirmation email to verify you are a real human. On the website, it basically just, I guess, okay. Let's share this one. We're almost there. It's just the landing page. This is my old header. This is my old header up there. I'm about to change that to my recent one, but you basically just put email address, first name, click sign up, go to the confirmation email, and click yes, subscribe me to this list, and it'll subscribe you, and then you'll get emails. And I know sometimes people, they don't get the emails, and I think if you add me to your contacts, my email that's on the confirmation email, which is nick.zangle@nickzangle.com. then that should help get it to your main inbox. Let's see what everyone else says. Let me stop sharing. Everyone's just saying bye, hi. Molly says, I appreciate your talk. You are very open and not a tool like KJ thinks. Yeah, I mean, I may say some things that maybe you don't agree with, but I can assure you that I'm not going to say anything that I can't stand by or that I don't actually think. Lauren Warner says, Nick, Emily Baker does great coverage of the Legal Things case. Yes. So I love Emily D. Baker from a legal perspective. I occasionally give my thoughts on the legal thing, but I'm not coming from a law background. Although I do love legal, which is why I'm a law nerd. It's why I like Emily D. Baker. And in my career, in real life, I have to navigate within laws, which is what I touched on last time. But I'm not a legal expert or analyst, if that makes sense. But I think if we're all supposed to be following the laws wherever we are, why can't we talk about it, right? Yes, Emily does a great job. And I think, was it today? This morning? She passed 100,000 subscribers, so that's awesome. So shout out to her. She happens to see this. Pretty cool. The way her trajectory of her channel happened. It seems like a lot of channels took that trajectory, but hers kind of went like skyrocketed because it was like the perfect storm of law, commentary, pop culture, a timely subject, and just all the things. And she had built that foundation of over multiple years. So it was very cool. Lauren Warner says, Katie does not like her. I'm guessing you're saying Emily. Yes, I'm aware. But she is great with laws, and I am a legal nerd and loving it too. Yes, I love that. And I know some of our audience crosses over. What's really cool about YouTube analytics is the new analytics. I know when I first started trying to do YouTube, 2014, I think it was, their analytics back end was not what it is now. Now, in my back end, in my analytics, I can see the top 15 other channels that I share an audience with and the videos that they are not necessarily like I can see you are subscribed to this person or you are watching this channel, but it gives me kind of an aggregate of which channels people are watching, which is really cool because I can see, okay, where's the crossover here? And obviously, because some of our most popular videos are the Katie Joy videos, a lot of those channels are people who cover that as well. But one of those is Emily D. Baker because she covers that too. And I think that's very interesting. So, and it gets recommended and whatnot. So that is very cool. And it also tells me recent videos that you guys have watched. It doesn't say that you're the one who watched it, but it tells me like, okay, your audience is watching this other type of video. So I think that's really, really, really cool. And that's why I chose YouTube as my focus over other platforms that I have left almost a year ago at this point, which I'll do a whole video on that as well. Let's see. KJ doesn't like Emily because Emily had her pegged from the beginning with the law backing Emily up. Yeah, Emily D. Baker, because of her expertise and her facts not fuckery mindset and her having the legal documents up, it's very hard for... The only way I think Katie can control that is if she just doesn't talk about her anymore and pretends like she doesn't exist, because her audience will find her more easily if she keeps talking about her. So that's just my opinion on that. Yeah. And yeah, that's the whole other thing. Yeah. All right, I'll stay on for 2 more minutes and then we will head out. If anyone has any more comments or questions or anything, let me know. Molly says, KJ can't stop talking about anyone. I think it's actually, I think I touched on this too in one of my KJ videos, was I was like, we don't want her to be banned. We want her to keep talking because then she keeps exposing herself. So if she keeps having audience and then she keeps acting the same way, eventually they're not going to be your audience anymore. So there's just going to be this revolving door, I think, of Katie Joy subscribers some may stay and they don't care. That's fine. Or some may hate watch or whatever. But if we let her be speaking, I think that's a good thing in the long run. And we can use her as as an example of what not to be. And it gives a lot of good fodder and a lot of good. She's a lightning rod for a lot of conversations, not about her, but just what she talks about and how, hey, this is maybe not how we approach this, or I have a different opinion than this. And she's giving a lot of channels life that do cover things really well. And so I think she leaves space open for people to see that there is a market for what she talks about, but give an alternative to her that people will like. And if her audience happens to see that, maybe they will like it better. So that's why I'm thinking, I don't know if I'm going to be this person, but if someone covers the Duggars in the show or Sister Wives or whatever, as much as she does, but does it in a different way, they will have a landmine, or not a landmine, a gold mine to really capitalize on. So, and that's why I like free market open ideas, because it gives people opportunity to take what's already out there that's not doing so well and do better. Yep, it's the old saying, give someone enough rope and they will hang themselves. Yeah, unfortunately, and I had this conversation in the comment section, I think, in one of my videos with someone about, unfortunately, sometimes before they get to the part where they hang themselves, metaphorically, they do have a lot of collateral damage that they cause, unfortunately. But sometimes, I mean, that's what has to happen before things change. And so, although she might think she got away with the Tati situation now with that lawsuit, if she keeps going with other people, she eventually will reach another Tati situation, and I don't think it will go the same. So, all right, I'm going to sign off for now. Thank you so much for joining me for this. We wrapped up about an hour and 7 minutes. So that's perfect. Thank you so much for joining me on this Monday. I hope wherever you are in the world right now that you have a great rest of your day or night. And make sure to check your emails for the email list, or go to the About section of the channel to sign up for them to get notified when I'm going to go live next. I'm thinking, or go to the channel and I'll schedule one and it'll be there and you can set the reminder so you don't miss it. But it'll most likely be at this time, whenever I do it. So, all right. Thank you so much. And I will talk to you next time. Bye-bye, Lauren. Thanks for joining. Thanks, everyone, for joining. If you're watching the replay, say hi to me in the comments. I will be replying to those comments, too. All right. Bye-bye.